What is the connection between extraterrestrials and reincarnation? Are ETs false beings of light who seek to trap the souls of humans in the Earth prison matrix? Or are they angels who guide souls to heaven and work with them when they choose to reincarnate? What is the truth? I will tell you. All right, so what is the truth when it comes to extraterrestrials and reincarnation? So it's very popular. It's frustrating to me. I won't lie to you. It frustrates me. People come on the channel who keep asking questions having to do with fear. And, I'm a person that I don't believe or disbelieve anything until I've personally experienced it. And maybe I don't know, maybe I'm foolish, or maybe I just don't have the same kind of fears that other people have. I'm not afraid of anything, in terms of existence. So I'm not afraid to test anything out. I believe that I'm smart enough to see something bad coming and to, change tactics or get out of the way. So I'm here to tell you from personal experience what extraterrestrials are, and I'm here to tell you that without a doubt there is in fact a life after death, and there is such a thing as reincarnation. And there are beings of light, and beings of light do have a connection with human beings reincarnating. They definitely have a connection. So, like many truths, there's a lot of people out there who intuit partial truths. But the problem is that what we humans do is we conflate our feelings, our fears, with actual evidence or other intuitions that we have. To conflate means to bring two things together. Confuse is to think one thing is different from another thing. But to conflate is to have partial truth and partial non-truth, and to put them together in a salad and mix it up, and then you can't tell the difference. And most people conflate partial truths with reality. So I'm here to tell you that everybody's intuition that beings of light have something to do with human beings reincarnating, you are correct. But what you don't know is that you have conflated your fear into the truth. And so you can't tell the difference. And why should you be able to tell the difference? You're a three-dimensional being walking around in three-dimensional Earth. And as I've said before in other videos, the main illusion of the third dimension is that you are isolated. That is the payoff. The souls come into three-dimensional reality in order to have a powerful physical experience. But the cost of that is you lose your connection. The soul inside of you loses powerful connections to other dimensions and other realities. So only those people who have successfully traveled to other dimensions and come back are people who don't have any doubt or any fear about what happens after death. So I'm here to tell you that there is such a thing as the afterlife. In fact, I'm here to tell you that Life on Earth is the anomaly. We have this feeling, if you hear people, even going back in time in many different cultures talking about the afterlife, we project onto the afterlife our lack of connection with it, and we think that everybody in the afterlife is a ghost, is sort of not really there, and even many mythologies having to do with the underworld and having to do with communicating with ghosts, or like Shakespeare's Hamlet. The ghosts are sort of not really anywhere, they're in limbo and they're not really people, and of course that's people's experience with ghosts, which are not human spirits, by the way. Your soul is not, when your soul leaves your body, it never becomes a ghost, ever. A ghost is something completely different. But we conflate our experience, limited experience, our fears, and we conflate it onto the memories that our soul carry with us, and with our intuitions and everything else. And so we think that being outside of 3D is sort of not being real, but it's the other way around. The third dimension is the manifestation that is not real. This is the illusion. This is the dream. And so you think that when your soul leaves your body, now you no longer have a body. And that's not true either. What happens is that your soul manifests in a different dimension, and you can manifest physically in a different dimension. And the physical body is like a suit that you can like unzip and take off. And you're actually coming from a less real place when you pass away to a more real place. This is part of the reason why it's so challenging and so painful to be human, because we can sense that something isn't real. We can sense that we're disconnected. We can feel all of that, which is why we do all the crazy things that humans do, why we get so wrapped up in violence and greed, and even things that are fun, surfing, whatever it is that you do that really gets you into your body. We do that so that we can have an experience of something that feels real, because we can sense that we're not in true reality. So what about the idea that reincarnation happens as a result of false beings of light tricking you into coming back into this prison matrix? I just want you to think about that for a moment. I know that there are people watching this, and I know that there are people on my channel, and no matter how hard I bang my fist or bang my head against the wall, no matter how much I tell you that there's literally nothing to be afraid of, no matter how much I tell you that, I know that that's not going to be enough for you. I know that you still are going to ask me questions based on your fear. I know that you're still going to go and binge watch whatever that guy's name is. What's his name? The reptilian guy. I know you guys are going to watch that, and I know you're going to get off on people justifying your feelings of fear. And I also know you're going to resist doing anything about it. And it's very sad and frustrating for me. But there's nothing I can do about it. There's literally nobody that can give you the desire to change. You have to want to change. Nobody else can give that to you. And it involves nothing less than complete, total transformation. And the transformation is not going to happen to you. You must initiate it. You must initiate the transformation. You must choose to change the way that you think. You must choose to change the assumptions that you hold on to. You can't do a whole lot about how you feel. You can't change or deny your feelings. So stop trying to do that. But you do have the power to change how you choose to look at the world and what you choose to believe. And of course, your actions will be a direct reflection of your assumptions. If you change your assumptions and then take different actions regardless of how you feel, you will transform. Your experience of reality will transform. So, do I need to spell out what my obvious belief is? There are no such things as false beings of light. And there are no beings in the universe, not one. There is not one being in the universe that is powerful enough to trick you into manifestation. You have to understand that manifestation isn't something that just happens to you. It's not like you're walking down the street and you get hit by a bus. Manifesting, incarnating in three-dimensional reality, incarnating in a physical body takes a tremendous amount of concentration and effort on the part of your soul. And there is no being in the universe that makes you do that. And I again, it frustrates the hell out of me that people feel this way. It frustrates the hell out of me that people think so badly of themselves. They think so little of themselves. And simultaneously, they're so incredibly narcissistic to think that there are beings out there who have nothing better to do but to focus on you and to trick you into putting all of that time and effort and focusing all of your energy into manifesting into a human body. I mean, it's incredibly childish, the thought process. It's very childish. It's incredibly immature. And it is narcissistic. By the way, you can't be paranoid without being a narcissist. So, there's a difference between grandiosity and narcissism. Grandiosity is to think a lot about yourself. You think you're something special. You think you're something powerful, wonderful, smart. But being paranoid is the mindset of a little child who is entitled, who thinks that they are the most important thing in the universe, and at the same time thinks that they're completely powerless and they have absolutely no power to do anything. And simultaneously, they are so important. They have such an inflated sense of self-importance that very powerful beings must be, you think about it. What the hell is it about you that makes you so important that other beings need to focus all their energy on lying to you, manipulating you, and forcing you to become human? I mean, it's just incredibly self-absorbed, entitled, childish, and it frustrates the crap out of me because it means that you hate yourself. There is nobody listening to me who believes or senses or fears that higher dimensional beings are spending all of their time trying to lie to you so that you will reincarnate just so that they can benefit from it. There is nobody listening to me who believes that isn't childish, narcissistic, self-aggrandized, and paranoid. It's really frustrating to me. And it frustrates me, this has been my problem. I get angry and I get frustrated at it, which may not be the best response. But it's I feel that way because not only because it's irrational and all the other things I just said, but because it means that you hate yourself, that you think so little of yourself, that you give away all of your power to these supposed beings who have no life. I mean, think about it. They have no life. If that's what they're doing, they have no life. And why would a being who lives in a higher dimension that, according to you, has much more power than you have, why would they waste their time? If they're these powerful beings of light who live in other dimensions, why aren't they spending their time enjoying all of that higher dimensional power and reality? Why are they wasting all of their time just trying to make you miserable? It's so incredibly childish and narcissistic, but it means that you hate yourself. You think so badly, so poorly of yourself. And it shows a projection of how you interact with life. It shows that you are completely powerless to do anything in your life, accomplish anything. You know, I was talking with somebody, you know, in the last live stream, and my apologies, I was cranky because I had gone surfing and I was tired. And so sometimes I get cranky when I'm tired, but I got impatient with him because on the one hand, he didn't want to sacrifice anything. He wanted to go into 5D and he wanted to experience 5D, but he didn't want to sacrifice anything to accomplish it, which again is childish and entitled and shows tremendous weakness and fear, and that frustrates the crap out of me. If you're listening to me and you feel disempowered, you feel weak, I don't understand why you don't become enraged at that. You know, anger has its place. And there's been numerous times in my life when my life was not going the way that I wanted. You know, the one that I remember the most was when I was married. And I had been in a relationship with, you know, married to the wrong woman. And I was trying to fit myself into what she wanted me to be. And I was miserable. I was not only miserable, I was also physically ill. I had physical pains all over my body, and I had tendonitis, and I was at that point, how old was I then? I was 49. It was 10 years ago. And, and I felt like I was just never going to be able to accomplish. I couldn't see a future for myself. And then I got furious. I got angry at that. And I said, what the hell am I doing? I refuse to be in pain. I refuse to be sick. And I refuse to be unhappy. And as it so happens, when I made that determination inside of myself, my now ex-wife proceeded to demolish our marriage. So lucky me, I got an escape hatch, because I was very focused on staying committed to her, because when I commit to somebody, I commit to them. But thankfully, she destroyed the marriage and I was able to walk away. And I went back then, 10 years ago, thinking I was really old. I went back and did everything that I wanted to do. Started surfing again, started exercising again, training again, doing all the things that I wanted to do. And then my career started, this channel started blowing up. So I don't understand why people don't get furious at the idea of being limited. And instead, you channel that anger onto people outside. You channel that anger onto beings that you don't even know whether they exist or not. You can't even fathom the idea of mastering your own physical 3D life. And so in order to justify your victim mentality, your unwillingness to do anything, to change anything in your life. You project it onto beings that are more powerful than you, that you don't know what they are or whether they exist. Or you spend time watching videos looking to see if people's eyes change into some kind of reptilian being so that you can say, yeah, you see, they're not really human and they're spiritual, but they're reptiles and they're running the world. And again, you conflate the truth, which is that there are psychopathic human beings who have no souls. I mean, they do have souls, but they're narcissists. They're psychopaths. They're sociopaths. They have no empathy and they have no connection to their soul, and they are running this planet into the ground, and you are trapped in their reality, but you have the ability to become more powerful than they are simply by choosing to focus on your own soul and make your soul and your soul's experience the most important thing there is. And it frustrates me that you don't get angry, and you don't. To get angry, by the way, anger is the prelude to action. Anger is what motivates you to change things. And so I would love to see you get angry at your own decisions to stay limited and to stay a victim. So you'll have to forgive me if I lose my patience with you when you come on here and you want to justify your victim mentality. You'll have to forgive me if I lose my patience. And you'll have to forgive me if I get offended when people say that I'm trying to, that I'm a charlatan trying to sell you stuff. I mean, it's just, I don't think there's, I would be very surprised. I would be very surprised if there are other channels that give as much actual real life exercises and practices, even come close to the amount of meditations. And how many channels are there out there of just watching, I don't know the guy, what's his name, Sadhguru. How many channels are there of people that just sit and listen to Sadhguru say nebulous sort of things that are how many people, how many channels are there out there listening to Zohar the Magnificent, you know who I'm talking about, the Law of Attraction lady, who say these nebulous, nothing half-truths about how to manifest your reality, and at the same time tell you you don't have to do anything. You don't have to take any action. You don't have to change. You don't have to go in and look at your own internal process and take responsibility for your own choices and your own actions. How many other channels are there out there? And people spend all of their time watching and listening and doing nothing. It's very frustrating to me. It frustrates me because it makes me sad. And I realize this is something that has been my entire life. I've always been, my lack of patience with people, when I really think about it, comes down to how sad it makes me that people think so little of themselves, that they have such little respect for their own divinity. Whether it was when I was teaching acting and people were unwilling to, take the emotional risks to go into a character and really portray it and really experience their own negative feelings, or whether it's people who are watching my channel and I give you things, free meditations, free interdimensional meditations, so that you can find out for yourself if higher dimensional beings exist and if you can tap into them. You don't have to take my word for any of it. I teach you how to do it, and yet there are people, and the first thing they say out of their mouth is, I don't know that I could trust it. I'm afraid. Well, find out. What the hell have you got to lose? You're already, according to you, trapped in some, matrix prison. What, are things going to get worse than they already are? You're already completely incapable, living in a delusional matrix of illusion, and you're being controlled, and the life is being sucked out of you by some other being you can't even tell, and you won't even then go and do interdimensional meditation for free, or do CE5 for free, or do my free meditations to find out whether or not what is out there? Yeah, go buy some weed, go smoke some weed, go watch what's his name, the reptilian guy. Go spend the rest of your life getting off on people telling you that you're miserable and you're trapped and you can't accomplish anything. Go ahead. There's nothing more that I can do. I can't give you any more tools. I can't make it easier for you. And hopefully, if you're listening to me, hopefully you're getting angry in the right way. Not the kind of anger where you sit around and smoke weed and get pissed off and talk about how we're trapped in a matrix and, you know, what the elites are doing, which they are. But you get angry enough to say, I refuse to let anything or anybody keep me from my greatest happiness. You become aware that you're programmed by your parents, that your parents devalued you as an infant and a child and disempowered you and took away the wonder of your own spirit, that talked you out of your connection to your higher self, that told you that your visions and your dreams and your experiences of other beings and other dimensions are nonsense and ridiculous. And here, buy into this religion. You're sinful and you deserve death, and you have to have a savior come and save you from just the fact that you exist, you worthless piece of crap. Go ahead and get angry and take action. Go ahead and revolt against all of it. Anyway, my apologies. So I sometimes I have to get it out. It's really frustrating to me. It frustrates me that this channel is so, unseen. That, like I said, there are the Zohar the Magnificents, there are the Sadgurus out there, there are the reptilian guys, and those guys get billions of views and make millions of dollars off of your pain. And it's because the vast majority of the human race is a victim, is a childish, insecure, narcissistic victim, unwilling to get angry and take action to completely not only change your life, but to change reality. It's frustrating to me and it saddens me. And I wish there was more that I could do. Because if I could, I would do it. If there was something I could do, if somebody can come up with an idea of something else that I can do to get the message out, I would do it. And I don't know what that is. Maybe you know better than I do. In any case, interdimensional beings of light are, in fact, angels who guide you and connect you to other realms. There are other beings that connect you when you leave your body. There are other beings. They don't have to be extraterrestrial. There are other types of beings. A being of light is any being that is higher than 3D. Whether they happen to be an extraterrestrial being whose physical body came from another planet, or if they happen to be a deity, or if they happen to be the soul of a human being that has moved on. The truth is, you don't realize how incredibly powerful you are because of the illusion of the third dimension. And I can tell you from personal experience, I have now interacted, communicated extensively with my family members who have passed away. I communicate with them on a regular basis, and not everybody, but other people who have have taken my example and have been doing the interdimensional meditation and have been communicating with higher dimensional beings, they also are communicating with the souls of their family members who have passed away. And there are people that have passed away in my life who have now reincarnated. And they told me when they were going to reincarnate. They came to me and they said, "Hey, just letting you know, I'm not going to be able to talk to you anymore because I'm going to go back to Earth. I'm going to reincarnate. I'm going to become a human being again." And they even tell you why. It's because I want to experience connecting to my other family members. Now instead of being their parents, I'm going to be their niece. Or instead of being their grandparents, I'm going to be their kids. Instead of being their husband, I'm going to be their brother or their sister. And that's what I mean, that souls choose to come here. And they choose exactly where they're going to be and who they're going to be. And they choose the limitations they're going to have so that their soul will become even more empowered. And that's the whole point of coming here. Which again is why it's so frustrating when I hear people think that being incarnated as a human being is about being, treated like a lab rat. It's just so sad. It's such a waste. I'm back here in Australia. I don't know for how long, according to the Australian government, not for very long. But last time I came here, the world completely changed and I got to stay here for a while. So for all I know, there's going to be World War III and I'll be able to stay. Who knows? But if one of the challenges I have is because I'm constantly thinking about, I don't want to go back. I don't want to leave. I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back to Florida. I don't want to do that. I really don't want to do that. I don't want to have to be forced to get on a plane and go back there. And so I keep saying to myself, because I'm so happy here, that I just wish I could stop thinking about the future and I could just be here right now, because I'm where I want to be at in the moment, and all I have is the moment. I just want to be 100% here and be happy and enjoy it. And I'm trying to do that, but it's tough. So I'm a lot like everybody else. I get trapped in the future or the past when all we have is the present moment. And your soul chooses to be here. It's not a mistake. And again, the paranoid, grandiose idea that you, as this helpless little nothing that you think you are, that somehow that makes you so important that these incredibly powerful beings have nothing better to do but to focus all of their energy on lying to you and manipulating you so that you'll have to come back here, so that you can whine and complain about being in this incredible three-dimensional existence where you have an opportunity with your meat suit to get involved and experience all the amazing, beautiful things that you can do here in 3D. And the incredible opportunity to learn how to use your soul and your energy body to go into other dimensional spaces and craft your future, to go and create the reality that is constantly being manifested by you, whether you're doing it passively out of fear or whether you're doing it consciously out of love and out of passion. What a waste. You waste your life with all of this choosing to be in pain. And I'll just give you one thing that you can do. The most important thing, I want you to write this down. The most important thing that you can do is to just assume that the universe is filled with loving, powerful beings who want nothing more than your happiness and your pleasure. That is a direct quote, by the way. It's a direct quote from a being of light. It wasn't even a telepathic. It was one of the few times I actually heard their voice. And I could tell it wasn't a human because I could hear that the sound coming out of their vocal cords in their mouth, they were having a hard time pronouncing it in, human American English. But the quote was, "We want nothing more than your happiness and your pleasure." That's the only thing that they care about. And they're completely, totally, 100% focused on you. And they can do that because they live in a higher dimension. And as you know, just in the fifth dimension, forget about 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, or 11, but just in the fifth dimension, any being that lives there can live in infinite numbers of time streams, infinite numbers of locations, infinite numbers of universes. So that means if they can be in infinite places, infinite times, all at the same time, that means that just one of them, forget about hundreds or thousands of them, just one of these fifth dimensional beings can be completely focused on you for your entire life. They can be with you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, just in the background, waiting for you to ask for their help, waiting for you to decide to shift and open your mind, putting little hints into your mind, and you think it's your intuition. That thought that comes in and says, why don't you trust? Why don't you let go? Why don't you take a risk? Why don't you listen to what he's saying? Why don't you subscribe and do the thing, or do the free stuff? Why don't you go take that Qigong class? Why don't you ask that girl out? Why don't you quit your job and go start your own business? Why don't you divorce your crappy wife or husband and go live your life? Why don't you commit to marrying that person you're in love with? There's a being whose entire focus is just on you and your happiness, and you crap all over it with your narcissistic, childish, immature fear that the only thing that exists out there is some evil being that wants to consume you. I mean, all the wasted energy. When all you have to do is just turn it around and just say, hey, can I have your help? Will you help me? Will you help me live my best life? I don't know how to live my best life. Can you teach me? And your guide, your angel, your elf, your fairy, your ancestor spirit, whatever the hell word you want to use, will be there with you, and I promise you they will help you. And there's also it's not just one. There are hundreds, thousands, millions of them. There's no limit to what you can accomplish and experience and believe, not just in the third dimension, but in multiple dimensions. You can start expanding yourself into the fifth dimension now. You don't have to wait for it to come to you. You can go to the sixth, the seventh, the eighth, the ninth dimension. You can choose to do that. You can choose to become the God who looks down on your life, and you can interact with yourself from a higher level. There's no limit. And it's so frustrating. I wish that I could share that with people, but it's so incredibly difficult getting past people's narcissism and their fear. It's an impossible task. And every now and then I get really frustrated. And yesterday I got really frustrated. And I apologize to you for that. Anyway, I'll stop babbling and whining and complaining. I'm happy to take any questions. If there is a question, write the word question in all caps. Just the word question in all caps. The rest of the question can be in normal script. And if you have a feeling, I want you to share your feeling with me. A feeling is not a statement. It is not an opinion. It is a feeling. And I tell you these things because these are the two best ways to get help from higher dimensional beings. Number one is to be honest with your feelings. If you go onto my channel, I don't know why there's only 750 views on it. Again, my mind is boggled. I have a video where it says how I became an extraterrestrial. And I document on there, you can see me interacting with extraterrestrial beings of light. You can actually see them floating around me. You can see me interacting with them. And the first thing I say when I become aware that I've made contact is I say, I'm afraid. I'm afraid. Because I understand that the best way to go beyond where I'm at is to be honest with my feelings. And then the next thing is to ask questions. And that's what I do. I did that before I came on here. I lied down for 10 minutes and I talked to my guides and I just asked questions. Ask honest questions from your emotional state, and you will change. It's the most powerful thing you can do. And so that's why I asked you to do that on my channel here. All right. Jedi Black Knight, question. Given millions of people testifying on suddenly finding Jesus and finding happiness by becoming hardcore fanatic Christians, isn't Jesus just a false god at some level? So Jedi Black Knight, that's not really a question. You're not asking me a question that you don't know the answer to. You have your experience. And you're not telling us why you need to talk about this. I'm not talking about Jesus. You can go to audiobooks.thunderwizard.com. By the way, if you're in another country, I just found this out. I'm in Australia. I typed in audiobooks.thunderwizard.com and it went to audible.au. And it says if you want to go to the US site, click it. So make sure you go to the US site so you have access to, so you can find my books. You already know my thoughts. I have no shortage of videos about Jesus and the Jesus conspiracy and the Jesus lie and all of that. So you already know that I agree with you to some degree. But what you're not telling us is why you feel the need to talk about it. And I'm saying that because I sense there's something in there, that there's something your family members, your Hindu family members are becoming born-again Christians, and it's bothering you. And that's what you're not sharing. I'd much rather hear the feeling behind it than you giving me the pseudo question, which is really you're just throwing out your opinion because you know I'll agree with it. I want to hear your feelings behind it. Let's see, that's not a question. Vincent.thunderwizard.com, honest feeling. Grateful that you're talking about overcoming self-hatred and minimizing ourselves. I had a breakthrough today. Grateful for your teaching about self-empowerment. Good. I'm glad to hear that. All right, so Sumit, I don't need your codependent attempt to tell me not to have my feelings. Don't tell me not to get frustrated. May make you feel uncomfortable if I'm frustrated, but I have the right to be frustrated. And so do you. You have the right to be sad. You have the right to be angry. You have the right to have all kinds of feelings. So you don't realize it. You meant well when you said that. But saying don't get frustrated is actually telling people to stop having your feeling. Stop making me uncomfortable with your feeling. I don't like it. So I encourage you to have your frustration instead of telling me not to have mine. You have to have your feelings. You have to have your frustration and your anger. You have to be able to talk about it because otherwise nothing changes. These feelings, if you use them in a positive way, will transform you. Because that's what happens. You either have your anger, which you express constructively through your actions, and you know what you're angry about or what you're frustrated about, or, because what's also inside that comment is, spiritual people, we don't get angry. Somebody else said that here. Anger is low frequency, right? So there's truth to that. Resentment, I will say this, resentment is low frequency. Resentment is what most people think anger is. Resentment is when you're still angry that your girlfriend broke up with you and it's a year later. And you can't stop thinking about what she did. She cheated on you and you can't stop thinking about it. That's resentment. That's re-feeling, resentire, to re-feel. And that's, when you have that kind of anger, I agree. That is low vibrational stuff. But you still have to work through it. Denying it doesn't help. Somebody says pot is a natural high frequency. So Sassy Cindy, welcome to the channel. Now I know that you use weed to stuff your feelings because you hate yourself. You can't tolerate your own anger. You judge yourself. You feel shame whenever you feel anger because you were told as a kid, I don't even know you, but I already know this about you. As a kid, your parents didn't allow you to have your anger. You got the message either directly, verbally, like don't you get angry, don't you dare lose your temper, or there was some communication energetically or otherwise that gave you the feeling that if you express your anger, you'll be a bad girl. You won't be lovable. So you now smoke weed so you don't have to feel your anger. But the problem is you think that pot is making you higher frequency, and couldn't be further from the truth. It is deadening you so that you don't have your feelings, which is why you need to keep smoking it. Because what happens? You get angry when you don't smoke it. And you can't tolerate yourself. You hate yourself when you're angry. So you keep smoking it or whatever it is you do. I've got videos in case anybody knows. Put the time and effort. You'll find out what THC. I'm not talking about the other stuff, CBD. What THC does to your energy body and does to the hormones in your body and in your brain. It's horrible for you. So no, Sassy Cindy, I'm not going to let that get past here. Anger is a constructive feeling when it is focused on constructive action. Resentment, that's something else. Vincent.thunderwizard, no, I already said that. Vincent.thunderwizard.com, honest feeling, happy and scared to be working on step 4. Good for you. That's the step that will shift you. Speaking of resentments, that's the step that is where everything changes. That's where your brain chemistry will change, and it will give you an ability to take actions up until this time you haven't been able to take. At least that was my experience. And the thing about the 4th step is you keep doing it. You don't just do it once. That's why there's a 4th step, and then the 10th step is doing the 4th step over and over again. You never stop doing it. Whenever you have a resentment, go back and do it. So good for you. I'm glad you got there. That's the step that really changes things. You say, it scares the hell out of me to face all the stuff I've been hiding and stuffing down on my life. I'm also sponsoring a guy on steps 1 to 2 and 3. Okay. Well, good for you. I'm happy to hear that. That will be helpful for you. Kedman Vriher, honest feeling. I feel and resonate with your message. Started contacting these beings and feel like I'm going through a death. The energy is very intense. I completely relate. One of the first feelings I had when I interacted with beings of light was I felt like I was dying. One of my first fears, it was an intense fear, was that I was afraid I was going to disappear. I was afraid I was going to disappear into nothing. And it was as a result of having, I won't go into it. I think I wrote about it. I'm not sure that I gave it justice, but there was an experience I had when I first had my successful experience with the mantis being, who stayed with me up until just recently. Up until a few weeks ago, he was with me, and then he said, I have to go. I've got other people to work with. And then another, actually 3 beings came in and took his place. But that guy was really powerful, and he did such a transformative experience on me. And there was a point where he introduced me to some really high-level beings, and this one being I came to me, and I was in 2 time frames at the same time. That this being was telling me something that seemed, if I were to write it out, would have seemed really kind of superficial and meaningless, not that big of a deal, but the frequency behind it and the meaning behind it is a message that was actually given to me simultaneously when I was 7 and when I was 58. And the experience I had when I was 7 was intense, and I left my body and I went to the source of the universe and came back, etc. And I had downloads that I didn't understand. I didn't know what it meant. I was only 7 years old. I didn't know what any of it meant. And then when I was 58, I was interacting with a being that was communicating with me, and I realized that that my 7-year-old self and my 58-year-old self was getting a message at the same time. So for that being, it was just one point in time, and he was giving messages to 2 points in my timeline. and it just broke my brain. You know, the second time when I saw it, because what ended up happening was that what I experienced at 7 was really something that happened to me when I was 58. Try and figure that one out. And my brain just broke. And it was very traumatic, but, you know, feeling like I was dying, feeling like I was going to disappear, feeling like I was losing my mind. These are things that happen when you have really powerful experiences with these beings, because they're not in our 3D timeline. When you experience them, just them saying hello, literally, if a sixth dimensional being, seventh, eighth dimensional being were to interact with you and simply just say hello to you, the power from that communication would completely dislodge you. You would, you know, there would be parts of you that would just fall off and disappear. And of course, those are the parts you don't need. But you would feel like you were being just destroyed. And then you get put back together again. And each time that happens, you have stronger connection to the higher dimensions. You know, like, again, I have no doubt. I don't worry. I don't have a belief about the afterlife. I already know that I am an eternal being, and if my body were to, you know, die for whatever reason, I would just unzip it, and I would, you know, I would continue existing, because that's where my existence is. And it's not because I believe that; it's because now I've experienced it. I know it to be true, and it's just as random a fact as, you know, the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. It's just part of reality to me now. I don't have to believe it anymore, because now I've experienced it. So I understand what you're saying about feeling like you're going through a death, because you are. You know, again, the power of 3D is that to live in the third dimension means that you also are in the fourth dimension of time. And time only works. The fourth dimension is actually a manifestation of the probabilities that exist in 5D. So the reality is that your consciousness, the part of your consciousness that manifests your physical reality from one moment to the next, is in the fifth dimension already and is just choosing probabilities. Or if you want to look at it this way, you're sitting here in a boat, but the boat is like, you know, 1 inch in front of the boat is nothing. And then every nanosecond, a new piece of the river, you know, appears in front of you. And that's you manifesting your reality every nanosecond. The manifestation of each moment, you know, like now I'm going to put my hand up here, and in a moment, I'm going to drop my hand. So the moment where my hand went from here to here is there was a probability that exists in the fifth dimension. It's not set in reality. And the part of me that chose to manifest my hand dropping down below the camera was a probability, and my mind chose it, and then it manifested in my 3D stream of reality. And so everything that you do, every decision, if you can grasp this, it will help you. Every single decision that you make, which creates your reality, is done in the fifth dimension. But your 3D brain records it after the fact. And there's been no shortage of scientific experiments where they try and put electrodes on human brains to figure out where in the brain a decision is made. And the assumption is that there will be some kind of electrical activity within the brain, and then instantly after that, the human will take an action. For instance, I'm going to pick up my rune cards. They're looking for, okay, there's a reaction in the brain, and then instantly right after that, he picks up the cards. And it turns out to be opposite. What'll happen is somebody will say, okay, pick up your rune cards. You'll pick it up, and then the brain will go off, which means that your brain is a chronometer. It is a recorder. It records your actions. It records your decisions. Nothing you do comes from your brain. None of the decisions that you make come from your physical body. But your physical body and your soul within your body has the ability to send messages to the fifth dimension where your consciousness is, and your consciousness will create whatever your third dimensional person tells it to create. So if you can take your identity out of the limitation you think you are, the fear, the limitation, the need to smoke weed so that you don't feel anger, for instance, that experience of I'm angry now and I'm a bad person when I'm angry, so I'm going to smoke weed so I won't have to feel my feelings. Understand that that comes from your limited three-dimensional feelings, your limited three-dimensional belief of who you are. You believe you are this limited, tiny being who can't tolerate their feelings, and so you send that to your consciousness in the fifth dimension who says, oh, all right, I will make the decision to go smoke some weed. Your brain records it and goes, I'm going to smoke some weed as you're picking the weed up and putting it to your mouth. If you can take your identity away from your three-dimensional self, and if you can identify with your higher dimensional self, then you can make decisions that go beyond the limitations that you believe that you are. Think about people who quit drinking. I don't know if you know this, but 100 years ago, if somebody was called an alcoholic 100 years ago, it meant that they were hopeless. And what they would do with those people is they would lock them up. They would lock them up and put them in straitjackets. They would put them in hospitals and they would give them lobotomies because they were hopeless. It was impossible for an alcoholic to ever stop drinking. And now look at what happens now. Because of the 12 steps, you now have hospital programs, and there's no shortage of people who are alcoholic who can stop drinking. And it's because that program is a spiritual as well as a psychological program, which allows them to access their higher dimensional self and decide to change. That's, in case you don't know that, that's what step one is. That's why everybody's so afraid of step one. Admitted we were powerless over whatever it is. What that means is that your three-dimensional self is powerless because your three-dimensional self cannot make any decisions. Do you understand that? So this is why people who don't have a spiritual practice can't change their life. Because the higher dimensional self takes the orders. You send orders to your higher dimensional self. I'm worthless, I'm afraid, I'll never be anything, I'm a bad person for having anger, I can't function in the world, I'm always going to be poor, this and that. And your higher dimensional consciousness goes, okay, I'll manifest that for you. It doesn't judge. It says, I'll manifest whatever you tell me to manifest. Good, bad, indifferent. Oh, you can't stop drinking, and you don't want to stop? Okay, you'll never stop. But the person says, I'm powerless over this programming. To my higher self, I want to stop smoking weed, watching porn all day, drinking alcohol, whatever it is. I want to stop being poor. I want to stop hating myself. I want to stop being judgmental. I want to stop being a victim. I want to stop trying to live my life to please my parents or God or society. I can't do it. I can't choose to stop. I've tried. I'm powerless. You're talking to your higher dimensional self. And you say to your higher dimensional self, I want to go beyond that. And your higher dimensional self says, oh, okay, I'll make the decision that happens. And then you hear these people who say, I don't know how I did it. It's impossible for me not to drink every day or smoke weed every day or to do cocaine in my neck every day or snort meth every day. I can't do that. But all I did was I simply made the decision and turned my life over to something I don't understand, which is your higher self. And now I'm changing. I'm doing things that were impossible for me. That's how it works. So you've got to drop all of the assumptions. Drop the belief that you're limited. Sumit. Drop the belief. Is that you? No, who was it? Sassy Cindy. Drop the belief that anger is bad for you and you're a bad person, and the belief that you need to smoke pot so you won't get angry. Drop that belief. Assume something different. Assume that your feelings are valuable. Assume that you are valuable. Whatever it is. You don't have enough money. You can't make enough money. Change that belief, because that belief comes from an assumption that the universe either can't or won't help you be more successful and more prosperous. So change that assumption. The assumption, when you change your assumption, you change the assumption from the universe is cold and empty and or filled with evil beings that want to suck the life out of me. Therefore, I'm never going to be able to be successful in my business because I don't have the power and nothing wants to give me the power because we have a cold, empty universe filled with reptilians that want to suck the life force out of me from the planet Saturn. Right? If that's your assumption, your higher consciousness goes, okay, yeah, I'll make that happen. If you change your assumption and you say, I don't feel this way, I'm full of fear, I don't feel like anybody's out there, I don't feel like anybody loves me, I don't feel like I have any value, I don't feel like I can change my life, I don't feel like I can live through my anger without smoking weed, but I'm going to change my assumption and I'm going to assume that the universe is filled with higher dimensional beings of light who, and I quote, want nothing more than your happiness and your pleasure. And I'm going to assume that even if I take actions that I don't think I can do, I'm going to do them anyway. I don't think that my channel will take off, but I'm going to make a video every day anyway. When you do that, your higher fifth dimensional consciousness that is manifesting your reality out of infinite probabilities every nanosecond goes, oh, okay, I can do that. Yeah, okay, so you're not going to drink for today. All right, done, manifested. Oh, you're going to take action today towards your channel. You're going to stop eating gallons of ice cream and you're going to start eating vegetables and you're going to go to the gym for today. Okay, manifest it. And you do it every day. This is what meditation is. And in your meditations, you focus on what you know you can't do, but what you want to do. And then you give it up. You turn it over, as they say. You turn it over to a power greater than yourself. And that power is your higher consciousness in the fifth dimension. It's the architect in the matrix. It's the architect that's sitting there in the room with infinite numbers of televisions with all the different probabilities, and it will pick that one or that one or that one, depending on your assumption. If your assumption is that you're a limited person that's being eaten by demons, then that's what you will experience. If your assumption is that I don't feel this way, but I'm filled in the universe, filled with loving beings that want to help me, then that is what will happen. If you assume, even though you don't feel it, you've been trained to believe that you have no value in and of yourself except whatever it is that makes your parents happy or your spouse or the universe or even the beings, in your own brain that you've created that tell you, you shouldn't have any anger, smoke some weed, get rid of that anger. No matter what it is, if you just assume, even if it's different from that, and you do anything within your power to act in that direction, your higher dimensional self, the architect, will press all the buttons necessary to make the impossible happen. And before you know it, you do it one day at a time. That's why they say one day at a time, because reality is manifested one instant at a time, and you get to live your reality in one 24-hour period. That's what sleep is about. You get to reformat your hard drive and wake up and do it again. And each day you create and manifest a new reality. But you can't do that if you don't believe that the universe wants to help you. And you can't do that if you don't believe that there's a higher version of yourself that you don't quite understand that can change you. And all you have to do is show up and take the action. That's it. That's all you have to do in the 3D is show up and take action towards what you fantasize. Not what you believe, but what you fantasize is your greatest reality. And that's what all of these things are about. The 90-day challenge. In case you were wondering, what is the point of the 90-day challenge? That's the point of it. You go and you press play and you do the energy exercises that I give you, and you follow my directions about changing your assumptions. And if you do that and take action, I guarantee you your life will change. And those of you who've been doing that, I know there are some of you on here, you used to do the 90-day challenge and you stopped smoking weed, or you stopped drinking, or you stopped whatever it was, and you did it for a while, and then you let your unconscious resistance tell you, no, you know what? Mommy's not going to love you if you continue to change. You should feel bad about yourself. Why don't you go back? Why don't you stop doing the meditation? Why don't you smoke a little more weed? Come on, just a little bit. It's okay. You've been a little bit angry. I know that there's some of you watching me, you've gone back and you still come onto my channel and you tell yourself, well, I'm still watching his channel. I did the 90-day challenge for a while and I stopped. I did the mantra for a while. I know that you're on here watching. I know you are. But you got to do it every day. Every freaking day. One of the things that will happen, by the way, your unconscious mind takes your vows very seriously. That is why this is a subscription. The thunderwizard.com 90-day challenge is a subscription because you have to subscribe. It has to cost you a little bit every month. Even I've done all those exercises you say. But by staying subscribed, you're telling your unconscious mind. It is a vow, it is a sacrifice, and your unconscious mind takes that seriously. When you make a vow, a spiritual vow, your unconscious mind says, I have to follow through on that. When you tell yourself, oh, I've done those exercises, I'm going to unsubscribe. Then your unconscious mind goes, yeah, you know what? And we can smoke a joint every now and then, and I don't have to do that. And you end up going back. How many of you are back where you were before? See, what is YouTube is telling me there's some kind of error. What's going on here? All right. All right. Anyway, I was responding to something. Cademan Verrier, I was responding to him. Yes, feeling like you're going through a death. You are. Timothy Zoll, honest feeling. I used to have audible negative self-talk in the mirror several years ago. I don't know what that means. Does that mean that you used to stand in the mirror and say bad things to yourself? Or did you hear a voice telling you bad things? Let's see. 12-step therapy, energy work, breath work, and meditation has done wonders. Happy and more content now. Yep. I mean, it's, the 12 steps are the most powerful tool for changing the brain. In fact, the 12 steps are what Buddhism has been trying to be for over 2,000 years. If you really want to understand, and this is coming directly from a Tibetan Buddhist. If you really want to understand, not me, somebody else that was a Tibetan Buddhist said this to me, said that the 12 steps are the best and most powerful physical, practical expression of Buddhist teachings that's ever been developed. That's why they work so well. But you have to keep doing them every day. If you don't live that every day, it stops working. If you stop eating, you starve to death. You stop drinking water, you'll die of thirst. You got to do this stuff every day. If you do the 90-day challenge every day, I can't even tell you what'll happen in 10 years or 20 years. It'll be beyond your understanding. And I'm not the only game in town. I just, plenty of places you can go. You don't want to subscribe to my thing? Fine. Go to a Tai Chi class and stay there. Go to a yoga class. Oh, I've taken yoga. Well, now go to yoga training and become a teacher. Stay in it. Keep your vow to something. It has to cost you something. It has to cost you money or discipline or both or time or energy. It has to cost you your narcissism. You have to make a vow all the time towards something. And your unconscious mind, when you do that. See, here's the thing. When you make a vow to the gods, like when you do your 40-day ritual, which I tell you how to do on this channel, and if you get an astrology reading from me at astrology.thunderwizard.com, or one of my apprentices, when you make a 40-day vow, what you don't understand is that your unconscious is so prideful, it won't give up. Because it takes that seriously. If you make a vow, your unconscious mind thinks that your life depends on it. So a vow is, I'm going to do this or I'm going to die trying. And if you say that to your unconscious mind will say, okay, for 40 days, I'm going to do it because I don't want to die. After the 40 days, maybe you'll give up and go back. I don't know. But when you make it a lifetime choice, if you were to make these exercises a lifetime choice, I mean, I haven't told anybody what they can or can't do. If you want to go learn the 90-day, the different levels that there are, and if you want to write them all down and make a book out of them and go and teach a class, I won't stop you. You just call it by another name. I don't care. You could take my exact thing that I teach and you could put your name to it and give it another name, and you can go start your own thing. I won't stop you. That's how powerful this stuff is. And I don't care if you do it from me or from somebody else, but just do something. Not just every day, but for the rest of your life. Now, you can't commit for the rest of your life, but you can commit for today. For today, I'm going to do the 90-day challenge. And then tomorrow, you make it again. Today, I'm going to do the 90-day challenge. Whatever it is. That's why they say one day at a time. Because remember, your higher consciousness is sitting in the fifth dimension, creating every nanosecond that you perceive as linear time. And you get to deal with those in a 24-hour chunk. You can tolerate the idea of keeping a certain assumption. The universe loves me and I take action towards what I want for today. Tomorrow I'll go stick a needle in my neck and snort meth until I die. But today I'm going to do this. And then you wake up tomorrow and you go, okay, today I'm going to do the 90-day challenge. Tomorrow I'll snort meth until I die. And if you do that every day for the rest of your life, it'll work, because that's how reality is manifested. Reality isn't manifested from today until the end of your life. It doesn't work like that. It's only manifested one moment at a time. But you can do it one day at a time. For whatever reason, we're allowed that. What else? Randy asks, question, any tips on getting response from higher being? I've tried with no luck. You don't know that. First off, I don't know what you've done. I don't know if you've done CE5. I don't know if you've done my interdimensional meditation course. I don't know what you've done. I don't know what it is you're trying to do. I don't know what it is you expect. So the first thing I would say is don't have any expectation. That was my mistake. Every single time that I consciously did CE5, and looking back in my life, every time that I was doing shamanic journeying, which is CE5, I didn't know that then. Every time that I did the elf ritual, if you don't know what that is, you can find it on my channel. Go look for the elf ritual. I didn't know that, but the elf ritual is actually CE5. I was having experiences like that, and now I know why. It was because when you do rituals to the elves, when you communicate with the elves, guess who you're communicating with? Higher dimensional extraterrestrial beings. That's what the elves are. That's what they've always been. So the first two times that I did CE5, I didn't think I was making connection, but I did. I just didn't believe it. I mean, you go back and watch my video, how I became an extraterrestrial, and you see the one part where there's that ball of light. You can't tell by looking at it, but the ball of light is actually it's hovering over me. I'm lying there on my beach chair, which I left in Florida. I'm lying there on my anti-gravity beach chair, and that light is, but I can't see it. And at the same time, there were lights down at the end of the beach, but I couldn't tell if it was people on ATVs or if it was people with flashlights, because those things were also going on. I couldn't tell what it was. And I was getting these intuitions that were so mild and so subdued, I thought it was my own mind. So I thought I was gaslighting myself out of it. So the first time I completely gaslit myself out of it. The second time I made a connection, and I actually went to, in my imagination, I went to this sort of like a moon planet that was very bright, and there were these people. They were short, and they all had like really thick turtlenecks on, and they were bald. And they were very, very happy, and they were very happy to see me. And I was saying, would you like to come and visit me? And they said, we can't. You're too well defended. We can't get past your defenses. So we're going to bring in somebody who can. And they said, we're going to bring, the quote that my mind came up with was, we're going to bring in the big guns. And that's when I had the third one where I flipped out and my radio went crazy and all that kind of stuff. They called, the what are those guys called? The mantis beings are like the warriors of the universe. They're very powerful, very high level beings, very high, very extremely high, powerful energy vibrations. So that I had to get broken in order for me to experience it. So Randy, you probably have a lot of blocks. Also, Randy, I don't know you, but if you drink alcohol, stop. If you smoke weed, stop. If you do any kind of drugs or any kind of hallucinogens, stop, because that's getting in your way. And allow yourself to just have whatever fantasy goes on. You might think, I sort of fantasized that I went to this planet, or I sort of fantasized that this being came and said something to me. Take those seriously. You don't have to believe them, but don't dismiss them either. What I do when they communicate with me now, and they had to come and communicate with me with very powerful messages, and they still do, because they know that I might not believe it if there isn't an energy jolt that goes along with the telepathic message. So I know I'm communicating them when I get a thought in my head and there's this jolt of energy that comes with it. I know I'm talking with an ET. But they don't have to do that. And they're not going to do that if you aren't ready for it, or if you're not open to it, or if you haven't asked for it, or if you can't handle it. They're not going to do that. So Randy, I don't know what's stopping you. It's not that you're not having any luck. You're just not seeing it or allowing yourself to see it. The other thing is, one of the easiest things to do is to get a walkie-talkie. Get a ham radio and just simply turn it on, and then, do the CE5 meditations and all that, and you'll think nothing's going on, and your radio will start going off. And then you've made connection, you just can't feel it. So try that. Set up a video camera. All kinds of things you can do to see if you can capture something. But if you are absolutely committed to making it happen and to have a connection, you will. Those are my tips. Josh P. Thank you, Josh, for just sharing a feeling. Regret, disappointment, dissatisfaction. All right, so I remember our discussion yesterday. So your feelings are your feelings. Have them. You don't have to talk yourself out of them. but do something. I don't care what it is. Subscribe to the 90-day challenge. Go take a Tai Chi class. You have to get out of your narcissistic lack of movement. What you said yesterday, that you wanted 5D to come to you, but you weren't willing to pay for it in any way. You have to drop that. That's never going to happen. It's going to cost you something. Either money, time, commitment, discipline, something. So you have whatever feelings you have, now you have to take an action. The easiest thing for you to do is, because you're talking to me, is to go and subscribe. Go subscribe to the 90-day challenge. You can unsubscribe whenever you want. You got nothing to lose. It's the same thing. It's the same amount of money that you're going to pay for a video game or for a bag of weed or for porn or whatever it is whatever it is you pay for. I know you pay $50 a month for something. So it'll cost you at least that, and if you don't like it, you can unsubscribe. That's just one idea. You don't have to do that, but do something. That will change those feelings. Those feelings aren't going to change without you taking daily action. Okay? Somebody wants to lose weight, sitting around feeling bad for, their being out of shape doesn't mean anything. Getting up off their ass and going to the gym, taking a yoga class, they do that every day, their body will change. What else? Timothy Zoll, honest feeling. I drank and used every day. Why not do the work every day? It works and makes life more tolerable. I agree. The thing about when you start doing something like that, like if you take a vow, like for instance, in your case, you work the 12 steps. When you make a commitment to work the 12 steps with a sponsor, and you do that for a certain length of time, then your unconscious gets attached to the idea, in the case of sobriety, for example. When you've been sober for, 6 months or a year or 2 years and you want to go out and get loaded, then you have to tell people, and your ego can't tolerate, I went out and drank again yesterday. I lost my sobriety. How much did you have? I had 2 years. Your ego won't let you go. Once you get into something, it makes it easier to stay in it. And that's what doing it every day will do for you. So, but I agree, it's the exact same. We have to work at it every day. And people don't realize if they put the same amount of effort into feeling like crap, into believing that they're limited, into believing that they're a piece of crap, or taking action on the negative feelings. Let me talk about negative feelings for a second. By negative feelings, I mean self-hatred, self-doubt, self-limitation, all of those things. All of those kinds of feelings, those things don't have any life in and of themselves. And I'm here to tell you because I live with this on a daily basis. Just to give you an example. I'm here back for a couple of weeks. I was sick and I had frozen shoulder, which is obviously my unconscious resistance. And I finally was able to get out and do some surfing. And I went out to my favorite place, which is about 5 minutes up the road, out of town. And you pull over and you walk through the freaking jungle. And then you come out, after like a half a mile trail, and you come out on this empty beach. And the water is crystal clear, blue-green, and there's nobody out on a Saturday. There's 1 or 2 people surfing. And I paddle out, and I have the whole place to myself. And I have so much, and I'm so happy. I'm on the verge of tears out there, so happy. I'm back home doing what I want to do. And then I get back, and I start feeling like a piece of crap. And then the rest of the day, I feel like such a loser. And that's because I went beyond and did what I'm not supposed to do that. I was told as a kid, you're not supposed to be blissfully happy doing your own thing. You're supposed to be mediocre, piece of crap, sort of half-ass loser, and then your mom will love you. Then your dad will love you. Then your brother won't beat you up. But if you go out and do something, and you do something that you really want to do, then people are going to come looking for you. And so I've been trained to beat myself up. You're no different than me, whoever you are. That's what you do. When you feel bad about yourself, when you feel depressed, when you feel lonely, when you feel worthless, when you feel, however you feel, which you have to smoke weed so you don't have to feel it, or you have to watch porn for 3 days straight, or whatever it is that you do to get out of your feelings, understand that those feelings are simply responses. They're energetic, electrical responses to thoughts that just like a program just keep playing in your mind. That's all that's happening. I mean, I'm old enough now. I'm 59 years old. Both of my parents are dead. My brother is probably dead. I'm no longer, my ex-wife 10 years ago. We divorced 10 years ago. There's nobody left in my life that's walking on this planet thinking anything negative about me. Nobody. So whenever those thoughts come up, I go, there's literally no reason for me to have this thought right now. It's just an old tape that's playing. And even though it feels bad and I want to act on it, I want to go get drunk. I want to go watch porn for 3 days. I want to go pick a fight with somebody. I want to go do something destructive. I still have all those wanting to respond to those feelings in that negative, impulsive way. I just don't do it. Because I know that that's all that's happening, is that there's just some program replaying itself in my mind. If you guys think I'm this positive person because I was just born that way and it just flows out of me and I'm just full of happiness, you're absolutely wrong. I probably have more suicidal, negative self-talk within me than you do, which is why I have to live a different way than you. You can get away with living, half-assed and smoking your anger away and whatever it is that you do, because you actually don't have it as bad as I do. If you were as fucked up as me, you'd either be dead or you'd be doing what I do every single day, busting your ass to be happy, because the alternative is unthinkable if I allow myself. So to respond to you there, either you drink every day or you work the program every day. You're doing one or the other. The reason why people do the negative is because it feels easier, but it's not. The amount of energy that you put into being a loser, being broke, being homeless, being homeless especially. Homeless people, you have to work really hard to be homeless and stay that way. That's why I never give homeless people money, because there's no shortage of places for them to go. But they don't want that. It's just they want to stay. What they feel like the easiest thing is just to give up, and they feel like they're floating and things are happening to them, but they don't realize that their higher self is continuously manifesting all of that nonsense. You have cancer. I'm not saying that you do. If somebody has cancer, for instance, that's their higher self telling them, oh, you feel like crap. You have such incredible self-hatred. You have such incredible anger pushed down so deep inside of you that you need to manifest it within your body so that you can justify to yourself why you're so horribly upset and a victim and why you feel helpless. I will keep manifesting that for you. And then people who have near-death experiences, people with cancer have near-death experiences, and they go to heaven, and in heaven they realize, oh my God, I had cancer because I was just filled with anger and self-hatred because I thought my job was to fix everybody. That my worth came out of what I did for everybody else. And I don't have to do anything. The only thing that makes me lovable is the fact that I exist. I'm not telling you this is a cancer patient. That was their near-death experience. They were dying of cancer. They died, went to heaven, and they realized, oh, I don't have to do anything to be loved. I just have to exist. Oh. And then they were told they have to go back. And they go, okay. And they knew they were going to heal. Because they knew that their disease came from that continuous manifestation of the belief that their value came from what they did, not from who they are. And so your higher dimensional self will oh, now you're done with that? No, your value comes from who you are, and you want me to make you healthy? Okay, I'll manifest every moment you'll be healthy for the rest of your life. But it's easier. It feels like it's easier just to give up. But you don't realize that you're working your ass off to be miserable. And if you put the same amount of effort into being miserable, into being happy, you'd rule the world. Okay, what else? All right, that's it. So I don't see any more questions. So again, this channel isn't about me talking. See, here's the thing. If what I've said to you has been inspiring to you, understand that that state of inspiration is temporary. You feel right now, if you feel inspired, you go, oh my God, I feel so inspired. He's totally right. You think that that feeling will last. It won't. You'll wake up tomorrow and you'll go, what the hell was that guy saying? Oh my God. So you have to take action. You have to take action now. The easiest way to do that on my channel is to go to the 90-day challenge and subscribe. And then press play and take the commitment to do, start with 90 days. That's why I call it the 90-day challenge. Start with 90 days. It takes at least 40 days. Here's something you need to know. Your brain is set up in such a way that if you start something new, a new habit, it takes at least 40 days of daily disciplined practice before your mind allows it to become a habit. When you do something 90 days, that's even better. So that's why it's the 90-day challenge. So you got nothing to lose. You can unsubscribe tomorrow if you don't like it. You've got nothing to lose. Go to courses.thunderwizard.com. We've got this other stuff going on here that I'm still giving away for almost nothing, which is stupid. The Solar Flash package. Take action. If you feel inspired, and the thing is, if you pay for something, you'll do it. I know this because the Mao Shan practice, which is the highest level energy practice that I have, I used to teach that for free when I was first teaching, because I thought everybody deserved it. But what I found is if I taught it for free, nobody'd learn. But if I charged them money, if I charged them $500 an hour, not only did they learn it, they mastered it because it cost them so much. So don't do yourself a disservice by saying, I'm not going to pay for anything. I'm doing you a disservice by giving you all the free stuff that I give you. I'm actually doing you a disservice. And to be honest, I started doing that because I couldn't tolerate people telling me that I was, this charlatan that was only in it for the money. My ego couldn't handle it. But if I really cared about you, I would charge you for every single thing that I do. In fact, I would charge you to watch my YouTube channel. If I really cared about you, if I didn't have an ego, but I do. So I still give away stuff for free. But my experience is when people don't pay for something, they never learn it. So if you want to learn something, pay for it. That's why I have things that will cost you money. And that's for your benefit. It doesn't change the fact that it benefits me and keeps my lights on. But it is for your benefit that I charge you money. Go and check out my books. If you read one of my books or listen to one of my audiobooks, leave me a review. Put the stars and then leave a written review. Go to audiobooks.thunderwizard.com. If you're in another country, make sure that you go back to the US site. You can go to Amazon, look for me, Michael William Denny. You can do the interdimensional meditation course, which will teach you my method of connecting with higher dimensional beings. But you'll get that if you subscribe to the 90-day challenge, Lightning Qigong. You'll get that for free. You'll get that, and you'll get the Manifestation Mastery course, and you'll get the Mastery of Shamanism course. All of those things in and of themselves are worth hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. You get it for the price of a video game or a bag of weed. All right, give it a try for 1 month. What have you got to lose? All right, that's it. I've done all my selling. If you guys are still there, that's it. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for showing up. I appreciate you. If I've done or said anything that's hurt anybody's feelings, just know that it's coming from a place of trying to help, and that's the best I can do in that moment. But know that everything that I do and everything that I say on this channel is completely devoted to helping you transform. If there's anything I can possibly do to give you a better, happier, more prosperous life, I will do it. And whenever I come up with new ways, I'm going to share them with you. And that's everything that I do on this channel. So I hope you realize that. And if you hear that, and if it gets to you, then do something. Do one of these exercises every day, 10 minutes a day. Please. You owe it to yourself, and the rest of the universe, including me, will benefit from it. All right, that's it. See you guys next time. Take care.